He holds the most respected title of the North Melbourne Football Club. Yet Glenn Archer always seems uncomfortable as the shin boner of the century. In contrast to so many of his contemporaries, he seems to have disappeared from public view. No official position at North, no television or radio roles, no newspaper column. Hello, I'm Mike Sheehan. Welcome to Open Mic and to my special guest this week, Glenn Archer. Hello, Glenn.
Hi, Mike.
You've walked away from everything. Is that deliberate or is it just the way it's unfolded?
It probably comes across like that because I don't do any footy media or, whether that be newspapers or TV or radio. But I still seem to be out there in other parts of my life with me work and all that sort of stuff.
You're at Stride Management?
Stride Sports Management,
yep.
Yeah. So I obviously manage a lot of the footballers. We manage about 160 of the AFL players.
Are you hands-on in that role?
I am now. I sort of take on a joint GM role with one of my managers, Tom Petroro. So really enjoy that. And I've got another business called Ultimate Sports Tours. So
that's with Lee Colbert?
Lee Colbert.
Yep.
He's the ultimate tour guide. So we take clients all around the world to all the big sporting events. Mm-hmm. And you've got to pinch yourself sometimes. And I know last year we were on a boat in the harbour in Monaco watching the Grand Prix, sipping pina coladas, and I nudged Colby. I thought, bloody hell, Noble Park one day.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a long way from Noble Park, mate, isn't it? Yeah. You genuinely are a revered figure in football, there's no doubt about that, respected by everyone, a lot of affection for the way you played, but things could have been a lot different, couldn't they? Without football, I mean, where would your life have taken you, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon I definitely got to that fork in the road when I was about 18. I was playing at Noble Park, playing some senior footy then. I'd already done a pre-season at North Melbourne under Dennis Pagan when I was about 17. And I went from my local footy club where basically I could do whatever I liked to Dennis down at Kensington Park running 400s and him screaming obscenities at me, and I thought, no, this isn't for me.
That's when you coined the phrase, then you thought Dennis might have been a lunatic, is that right?
I thought he was a lunatic. He probably proved it sometimes. Sorry, coach.
So it could have been temporary, couldn't it? Because I read a chapter in the Champions book from you, and you went home with no intention of going back to North?
No, I was happy to play at Noble Park. Probably because in the back of my mind I didn't think I was good enough anyway to play AFL footy. I was a short little fat bloke playing at Noble in the seniors, playing full forward. Thought I was okay, but I never thought I'd be good enough to make that next step. But I got a phone call in 1991 from Dennis Pagan. It was already round 5 of the season. And he said, come down and play one game in the 19s. We need a forward. I was a forward back then. If you like it, stay. If not, go back to Noble Park. I said no a couple of times. He persevered. So I said to my girlfriend, now wife, so I'm going to go down and play one game, get this bloke off me back. So I went down and played. I always remember we played Carlton at Arden Street. We won. I kicked a couple of goals and I thought, oh, this is all right. I really enjoyed the company of the other players. And we're playing Sydney the weekend after, so I thought I might hang around because I'd only been on a plane once, and so I wanted to go to Sydney. So I did that and enjoyed it, and I thought I'll hang around for a little bit longer, and 17 years later I was still there.
Yeah, you didn't get him off your back, did you? You had him on your back for, 15 years?
Yeah, and I've said a lot of times, I'm indebted to that man for the rest of my life, because if it wasn't for his perseverance, I'd never had any other club speak to me. I never played Teal Carp, I never played any of that sort of stuff, so Greg Miller found me, Dennis Pagan persevered in getting me down there, and the rest is history.
You were a pretty wild kid, weren't you? I don't think that's sort of exaggerating, is it?
Yeah, I was pretty wild. I had a really bad temper, which spilled into my AFL career at times as well, and something that sort of haunted me for a while. So yeah, we used to get up to no good when we were kids, and again that fork in the road that Dennis dragged me down the right road. Some of the guys that I knocked around with, like one of my close friends, passed away at 27 with a heroin overdose. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have gone down that path because I was never into that sort of stuff, but you just don't know. Maybe the peer group pressure might have got hold of me and I could have ended up like that as well. So, again, that's why I was so indebted to Dennis.
Glenn, you're the shin boner of the century, 6 times the most courageous player in the competition. You're a Norm Smith medalist.
Yeah.
You never won a best and fairest at North. Does that? I know you're a team player, I understand that, but Does it irk you that you never were acknowledged by your own footy club as the best player of any given year?
Not at all, and this might sound cliched, but it's an individual award, and if I wanted individual awards, I would have played an individual sport. And I was that lucky that I played through an era where we played in 20-odd finals matches, 3 grand finals, 2 premierships, and the individual stuff pales into insignificance once you've achieved the team ultimate of winning the premiership. And people might think that's cliche, but I am dead serious. I wouldn't care if I finished 20th every year.
You grew up a passionate Collingwood supporter, and why am I not surprised that Darren Mullane was your hero?
Yeah, he was my hero. Come from the same club as well, same junior club at Noble Park, and I just loved everything about him. Obviously, when you see him make the grade and he comes from the same area, you're going to watch him a bit closer. But I just thought he was the ultimate footballer. He was tough. He could mark really well overhead, which was something that I really admired.
He could belt blokes.
He could belt blokes. He was a great kick. And you look back at his stats as well. Like, he had some unbelievable games, having 30-odd kicks in a game, and he was a fantastic footballer.
Your present met your future in the 1979 night final at Waverley Park. That was the game in which Kerry Good kicked the winning goal after the siren for North Melbourne.
Yep.
You were on the ground, weren't you, when Good took that kick?
I was 6 years old at the time. I was a mad Collingwood supporter.
Yep.
I had my older brother with me, who Mark would have been 11, I suppose. He was 5 years older, and my dad was in the stands, and we rushed down to the fence, as we used to always do, and jump over the fence, and he used to cart me out there, obviously being so young, and yeah, I was one of them little blokes in the duffel coats running at Kerry Good, hoping he'd miss it.
You've got a colourful history at Waverley Park, haven't you?
Yeah, I used to live...
You're prepared to own up to a few of the escapades out there?
Well, I lived across the road on Gels Road, which was 150 metres from the front gates at Waverley for years. And so I used to spend every Saturday there. So me and... Never paid once. Me and a couple of mates, we knew all the places to jump the fence, get into the members. My locker key from school, somehow I worked out that it worked for the catering elevator. So we used to get in there, go down to the rooms. Half time of the seniors, what they used to call the old Little League, they used to come in. We used to get in there before the Little League and take their pies, have a couple of free pies.
There was a fear, or certainly a very, very healthy respect at players at other clubs when they were opposed to you. Did you work them over or not?
Oh, yeah, I sort of worked out probably midway through my career you could bluff a few. There's no doubt about it. With particularly back then, where you could chop the arms. Obviously, the rules have changed now, and so even if a guy was going to take an easy mark in front of me, I'd always chop his arms and try and get a little bit of the side of his head at the same time. That was in the back of his head that next time, I'm going to do the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I found that worked a bit. I found my teammates around me helped me a lot, because they would, obviously some of these players thought that I was a bit mad, and guys like David King, he was the best.
Reinforce that view.
He used to, doesn't surprise me he's doing special comments now, because his special comments out in the ground were pretty good. So he used to wind him up saying, Archer's going to punch you in the back of the head, he's going to kill you, and all this sort of stuff. And I used to go, yeah, keep it going.
You played on heaps of big names, lots of them. Was there one or two that you really looked forward to playing on, when you knew who you were playing the next week, about looking forward to the battle?
No, not really, because I never really looked forward to playing. I used to think about the game too much. And I used to think about the bad things too much, of what could happen. So leading into games was quite tough, because I used to sit there and think about me man kicking 10 goals on me, and then I'd feel sick and I'm going to lose a game for us. And got to a stage towards the end, I had to live on sleeping tablets just to switch myself off.
All during the week or just night before?
Both.
Yeah.
It was all the time. But once I got it in the ground, I was fine. It was just leading into the game, which made it tough. But
that was with you, though. It was the fear of failure, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you used to speak to the psychologists and speak to, the coach used to, believe in yourself. And I found, but at the end, I reckon that helped me because it made me work harder.
There's a famous moment where you and James Hird exchanged jumpers at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like playing on someone like Hirdy.
Yeah. Really tough with Hirdy, because I used to look at Hirdy and I used to think, he doesn't look like a footballer. And he would lead to certain spots where you think there's no way they're going to give him the ball. And they used to always get him. So he always found a way of winning the ball. Even though you might be having the best game of all time, but you might keep him quiet for a little bit, but he always found a way of working his way through. And I found people used to talk about my courage all the time because my talent wasn't all that good. So they used to just focus in on that. But I found with the really talented players, they didn't really talk about their courage that much because I think we're too busy talking about how good they were.
Yeah.
Because Carey was the same. Hird, they had amazing courage, but we just didn't really talk about it that much because they were so good, and we talked about the games that they won.
1993, Glenn, you're playing at North Melbourne on $5,000 a year, correct?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Sydney makes you an offer, allegedly, for $450,000 for 3 years, which is a pay rise of $145 a year.
Yep.
You said no. Is that loyalty or stupidity?
No, definitely loyalty back then. And as it turned out, it was the best decision I ever made because I ended up playing in the premierships and they ended up looking after me at the end. So it was, and I'm a big believer of it now. I've got a sports management business and it probably goes against the ethos of managers, but that's why the guys who work under me, they don't talk about the contracts all that much because I say he should be getting paid that much.
And he should stay where he is. Yeah.
But I spoke about it with my girlfriend and wife, and she gave me the advice of what does your heart say? And I said, my heart says stay at North Melbourne. They gave me the chance. And like I said, no one ever gave me a chance, so I had to be loyal. It would look terrible if I ran away. And plus, I loved where I was. I've been there my third year at the club. I had really close mates already. I could see we were going to do something, and like I said, they looked after me later on.
We're taking a break, Glenn. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the biggest story of the modern era. Your courage was legendary, and still is. I mean, was that natural or was it manufactured?
Mainly instinct, natural. But I think it's a Dennis Pagan thing as well. Once I did a couple of courageous things early on in my career. We'd go watch the review of the game, and he used to make this point about, oh, look how courageous that was, that's amazing, and all that sort of stuff. So I used to sit there and go, oh, that's a good thing, I'll keep doing that.
Yeah.
So I think mainly instinct, but Dennis's encouragement helped a lot as well.
I'm sure you love Jonathan Brown. I think we all do. But when you watch Brownie play, and when you watch with the series of injuries that he's had to his face, particularly the one in Brisbane last year, when he ran probably to a contest that he was never going to win, do you think that's a bit reckless or not? Or do you think that's just him?
It's just him. And I heard other commentators sort of half putting him down, saying that's stupid courage and all that sort of stuff. But that's the way he plays. That's the way he's always played. And you think about the amount of times he's done it compared to the amount of times he's got injured. Sure, these have been freak incidents and they've been pretty bad, but he's been doing that his whole career. And I reckon he'll find it really hard to change it, because it's generally that little man in the back of your head saying, you got to get there, you got to go. Don't be weak as piss. Go. And it's generally the little man in the back of your head that makes you go for it.
You're a hot-headed bugger. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Did it cost you... We talked best and fairest before. In 1998, do you think your temper cost you the best and fairest?
Yeah, I got suspended for a couple of weeks that year.
A couple of times, didn't you?
It was once or twice. I definitely missed 4 games. So, yeah, that would have cost me the best and fairest that year, because I only lost by a couple of votes.
Yet the previous year, I thought one of the most probably unnerving moments of your career came when you missed that final.
Yeah.
You're standing in the race at the MCG.
Yep.
North's been beaten by St Kilda and missed a spot in the granny, and you and Wayne Swash are there suspended.
Yep.
Coach wasn't happy, was he?
He wasn't happy at all. We watched the game from the race, obviously the preliminary final, just to get through to a grand final. I could have played the following week if we got through, and Wayne couldn't because he got 4 weeks. I remember after that game we got whacked. I remember Dennis coming out of the coach's box, walking along the MCG, and we're still in the race. I could see his eyes just burning towards us. And I said to Wayne, let's get out of here. And he goes, nah, I'm staying. I said, yeah, good luck. So I went down, hide behind the players really, away from Dennis, giving him a pat on the back, and he went straight to Wayne and absolutely tore strips off him.
He did. He would have got to you though, wouldn't he?
He did, because we went into the rooms, the boys filed into the players' room, and the door closed, and me and Wayne were outside, and you hear this, where is Archer and Schwass? And yeah, here it comes. So he basically gave it to us and said that, look at your mates, you've cost them a grand final.
I can't remember what you did that year to get
I
rubbed out.
tripped Gary Hocking, but I got done
With
for,
your foot?
for
Yeah.
kicking. Yeah.
And that's sort of still a slur, isn't it? The perception
Yeah.
that you've kicked someone. It doesn't seem like a G. Archer thing to me.
Nah. And I did half kick him. There's
Did
no
you?
doubt about it.
Yeah.
It was for memory, yeah, the ball, it was a wet night, the ball came in and went through my hands, just went straight through behind me, and it was more out of temper. I went to kick the ball, and Gary, and I knew halfway through that I was going to kick him, but I went through with it anyway.
So you did kick him?
Yeah, I tried to say it was a trip, but in hindsight it was the temper taking over, and
Wow.
I kicked him in the thigh.
You got better later, didn't you, about more sort of self-control and discipline on the field?
Yeah, much better. I don't know why, maybe just older and wiser. And I remember I got a knock on the door one day from Campbell Brown, and he was going through a bit of a bad time with his temper and getting suspended and reported. And we went out the back of my place and he wanted some advice, and the only advice I could give him was, you get better as you get older. Maybe just get a little bit wiser and understand the consequences more. And
Speaking about your place, let's go back to the summer of 2001 and 2, and the biggest event in your life, probably the Wayne Carey scandal that erupted at your house. Time's moved on, but your memories. I mean, are you friends with Wayne now?
No, not friends anymore. I see him at the odd footy function or North function. It's generally once a year. But always say hello, and we're always civil to each other, there's no doubt about that. But no, we're not friends anymore.
At that time, Anthony Stevens and Wayne probably were, say, your two best friends at the footy club. Is that true?
Yeah, well, Steve was definitely my best friend, and Wayne was definitely up there, yeah, no doubt about it. We spent a lot of time together, had a lot of fun together on footy trips and after games and premierships, and no, we had an absolute ball. So the one, probably the biggest emotion that comes out of it is sadness.
Yeah.
Because I always remember when we won the premierships, one of the things that I was really looking forward to was the reunions. And the reunions, you walk in now and they're still good because you catch up with the other guys, but there's this tension in the air that I don't like and no one else likes, and that's one of the things that comes with what happened.
Could you understand the magnitude of, I mean, it must have taken a while to sink in when you're sort of, your house, there was a celebration, it was your wife's birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah, my wife's 30th. Yeah.
And then the most inconceivable eruption, and just, what impact did it have you personally and the footy club?
Yeah, I was obviously it was very well documented, and it was getting out of control. There, people camped outside journos camped outside my house for days on a time, and helicopters following me and Steve-O up the bush, and it was really hard to comprehend. I'm thinking, this is never going to end. And emotionally, it just obviously drained the hell out of Anthony and myself in the end, to the point where I thought, that's it for me. I don't want to play anymore. I just couldn't see myself playing footy anymore. Maybe because this whole saga had just consumed my whole life. But it was Steve-O. He was the one who basically told me to pull my head in and said, if I can get through it and play, I think you can play. And I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good point.
Yeah.
So he was the one who dragged us through that, which shows how tough that bloke is, you know, to go through what he did and then become the captain and pull everyone together when everyone wanted to fall apart. And he was the glue along with Lee Colbert and John Blakey, that held the place together.
You played for North against Adelaide in Wayne's first game with his second club.
Yeah.
Must have been an amazing feeling on the ground that night.
Yeah, it was a terrible feeling. It was I just remember the noise of the place, and because everyone was waiting, it was that tension that everyone was waiting for someone to do something, to hit Wayne or whatever, and we got a little bit funny there for a while, as we saw on the vision.
That little bit funny was almost like it was like a fire that was ready to break out, wasn't it? And there was a chance that you and Wayne could have had a fight, wasn't there?
Yeah, they could have. And
who would have won, Arch?
Well, put it this way, and I've said that to a few people. Had I thrown that punch, I would have got about 5 on the chin pretty quick, because he was the best that I'd ever seen in and out of the ring. He was very good at holding his hands up. But he'd done something to Anthony on the wing. I think Anthony had fallen over and he sort of gave him a little knee and rolled him over. So my words, I think, when I went to him was, if anyone should be doing anything to anyone, he should be doing something to you. And then for some reason I pulled the fist back, but like I said, I was getting older and wiser, and I didn't throw it.
Have you ever contemplated the idea of sitting down with Wayne, of ringing him and sort of saying, mate, we need to talk, we had a good friendship, things have happened, is it worth like an hour chat over a few beers?
I've never really thought about it. I've got this thing that I feel like I'd be betraying Anthony if I was to do that. And personally, I don't think I really want to. But our lives have taken different paths. I know Wayne's getting himself together now, but the path that he went down amazed me.
What do you mean by that?
The drugs. I just could not believe it. For a guy that preached anti-drugs more than me when he played at the footy club, I don't know what happened. But apparently he's got through that now, and maybe one day, like it's been 10 years, maybe in 15 years, I don't know.
I want to ask you about that title. We talked before about the Shinboner of the Century tag.
Yeah.
Does the Carey spectre hang over you? Do you I get the impression from you that you think, as much as you cherish it because it's a magnificent accolade, but that it might belong to someone else in different circumstances. Is that fair?
Probably. Even though some people get confused with the Shinboner of the Century, they think it's the best player of the century. It's not that. It's who epitomised the Shinboner spirit the most, and it was voted by the players. But yeah, it's not just Wayne, it's all the others, like Anthony Stevens, Wayne Schimmelbusch, Keith Gregg, Malcolm Blight. I just look at these guys and they're revered. But you're probably right. Had the circumstances been different, Wayne might have got the votes, because they had the Shinboner of the decade on that night. So the decade of the 90s, which was voted by the 90s players only, Wayne got the votes, and he was the Shinboner of that decade. But for the Shinboner of the Century, it was voted by every player. And maybe the old traditionalists back in, the 60, 70-year-old ex-players would have seen as what Wayne had done as being no good, and wouldn't have given him the votes.
Is Carey the best footballer that you've seen?
By a street. I was lucky. I had the best seat in the house. I was half-back flank. I could watch the whole thing, and sometimes you get carried away. You think you're one of the supporters. You do something, you go, oh, did you see that? Talking to my teammate. The opposition, sorry. It's just that. I don't think I'll ever see anyone like him, and I know they try and compare him, current day players, to Wayne, but I don't think anyone really compares. But it used to demoralise teams, not just the player that he was playing on. He'd demoralise the guy that I was playing on, because he'd do this 5-minute, take 4 marks and kick 3 goals and just absolutely tear it apart. And you'd see the guy playing next to you, he'd just go, oh, again, and turn around. And so by the time the ball got down to us, he was knackered.
You're as hard as anyone that's played the game in my time. There's no question about that. Are you worried about the hardness of the modern game? Are you concerned about that?
No, I'm not. I reckon the game's as hard now as it ever is, and it's just logic. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, so they're going to hit harder when they hit. Again, people get confused with what hardness is.
Yeah.
You know, they think having a punch on is hard. My son can go punch someone in the face. It's easy, but put a ball down there with Jonathan Brown coming the other way, and you've got to put your head over it. That's hardness. I look at the game now, and I feel lucky that I was born with my body size through the 90s and that, because I wouldn't get a game now. It's unbelievable the way they played the game.
Yes, you would, mate. We love watching you play, every one of us, the North Melbourne supporters particularly, but the rest of us for the way you played the game. Congratulations on a great career and good luck for the future.
Thanks, Mark.
This has been a Fox Footy production.